Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Networking 101 session. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you and to really assist you in any way I can to help you with this process of making connections. But before I start, I want to make sure I introduce myself appropriately. So my name is Allison Cavalucas. I use she, her, and hers pronouns. I work as the internship coordinator in the Career Center, which is located on the second floor of the William Pitt Union. And I love connecting people. I get to work with Gabby and Alex, who you see listed here, to help students to seek and become better qualified for internships and to make sure that all of our Pitt students are graduating with experience upon graduation, which ultimately makes you more marketable to employers, to graduate schools, and to future opportunities. So very excited to have you all here and to get started to talk about networking. But because I work in the Career Center, I cannot jump in without mentioning a few pretty important things that are coming up over the next week. So I want to do a shout out to the entire Career Center team for once again putting together a really stellar virtual career and internship fair series. So next week, we will have 3 full days of fairs with well over 40 employers coming each day, with a focus being on arts and sciences on Tuesday the 15th, engineering the 16th, and computing and information on the 17th. And while I encourage you all to look at the fairs and handshake and look up your major, look at industries you're looking in, look at keywords for skills you might be wanting to showcase or build on through internships or full-time work. But I also want you to really think outside of the box and realize that a lot of employers can only come to one day of a fair because of the expense and the time that it takes. So it is possible that your major may be falling within one of the other days as well, one that maybe doesn't seem like the natural fit. So definitely look at them all and don't miss out on opportunities to connect with employers who really are there for you to meet and build relationships with. And that's what networking events are. You still have to apply online, but that connection you make could be the reason why you're automatically flagged for an interview if you get that application in on time. So keep in mind, fairs are coming right around the corner. And as always, we want to help you to get ready for the fair. So on Thursday this week, we're once again offering Resumania. You can sign up in advance and fill out some get a chance to actually have your resume reviewed by a recruiter or a Pitt grad, or you can just pop in to, there'll be a Zoom link available all day long from 10 to 6 on Thursday. You can just pop in and be ready to share your resume and have it reviewed by a staff member. So either way works for us. No matter what, we're here to help you to get ready for these fairs. Wanting you to know also, we review resumes every day of the year. So this event is to help you to get ready for the fair. If you're not going to the fair, come another day. We'll be less rushed. We're not exactly able to give out free pizza in this format. So you can come anytime you want. So now I'm going to jump into the content. So really what we want to talk about today is networking. And networking is something you can do every single day. And there are some sort of random statistics out there that pop up every once in a while, whether it's in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or Forbes magazine, but a lot of data is always leading to a really, really high percentage of jobs that are filled through networking. Now, this does not mean that your degree that you're spending all this money on right now isn't valuable. And it also doesn't mean that the skills that you're gaining don't matter. It's just oftentimes that there are so many applicants or there are so many things pulling the time of the recruiters that they'll do anything to help have a filter to let them know that someone is already verified as a good candidate by someone that they know. So that's really the value of networking. And that's what helps to tap you into your potential internship and job opportunities and really any types of opportunities. And it's been steadily reported that well over 60% of our graduates secured their opportunities through networking one way or another. So why network? So first and foremost is to find opportunities that might not be posted anywhere else. For those of you who are potentially studying the health sciences and who are interested in doing research, you've already come upon this where, professors just don't have the time to not only post a position somewhere, let alone if they did post it, to have every single student in the entry level bio or chem courses applying for that, because they don't have the time to go through all of those applicants, and they just can't take time away from research to do that. So knowing that there are a lot of opportunities that just never even get posted, networking is the only way to get to them. It's also a way to potentially have opportunities created for you that may not otherwise exist. If a person meets you and likes you and sees your potential, they could decide that, you know what, this is the year we're going to have an intern. I already have a candidate. The hard part is done. We found someone. We just need to get a good project pulled together for them. Potentially more likely to happen with internships than entry-level positions, but it does happen. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. So the next piece is to know that you are always looking to expand your network through other people's connections. So you need to have some pretty solid relationships to start with in order to do that. And it's a great way to learn about opportunities and positions and, any type of industry, any type of setting you might be considering. So there are a lot of good reasons to network. So what is networking? Fundamentally, at its core, networking is relationship building. So we know that you already know how to do this. You've done it in person your whole lives. You've done it in school. You're doing it on social media. You're connecting with people kind of everywhere you go through student organizations. You're meeting people through this group. But networking is really taking an encounter and turning it into a relationship. And a relationship requires you to be remembered. Okay, so the way you do that is by actually communicating. We think that it's always a good idea to talk and actually have that connection instead of assuming that you have a relationship with someone where it's just been a writing exchange, whether that's email or through LinkedIn or something. So try to find a way to talk to someone. Also, as a student, you're generally seeking something out of a networking contact. You have more to get from them than they have to gain from this relationship and time they're taking out for you. So always defer to their preferred way of connecting and following through. And then also know that you have to follow through. In order to stay remembered in a positive way, you need to always end with just that quick thank you. Like, fortunately, with how much has changed, one of the things that benefits you with the whole world's conversion to fully virtual is handwritten thank you notes aren't expected anymore, but that quick thank you email, because it's so easy to send, is not just expected, it's pretty much required in a lot of cases. So after an interview, after a job fair, after someone gives you a referral for an opportunity, after someone takes 20 minutes to talk to you about something that you wanted to learn more about, a quick 1 or 2 sentence thank you, just saying thank you for your time, is really, really, really valued. So in order to be remembered, you have to be gracious and you have to be, intentional and genuine. And that's something that we don't want you sitting down for this thinking, okay, I got my resume reviewed, I signed up for slots at the career fair, or, I applied for blue and gold, what do I do next? Really what you want to really be thinking is, who do I already know? Okay, so there are 3 kinds of networks, and this is in our opinion. I'm sure there's more, but we think as college students, we can kind of summarize everyone or trying to know into 3 groups. The first is your personal network. So this is your friends, your family, your roommates, sort of your immediate circle of, the people who do anything for you and really, really want to help you and support you, and will do that at any chance they get. So those are the people who automatically are in your network. So then we have what we would call a professional network, but in your world right now, that's more academic than it is, quote unquote professional. So this is anyone you've worked with in the past or currently. So that would be anyone through school, high school and college, through jobs you've had, student organizations, kind of all of your direct contacts. This also could be supervisors from internships or advisors to student organizations. So that's kind of like your professional network right now. This will obviously grow into your career, but that's your current professional network. Then there's the strategic network, which is what students think is all that we care about in the Career Center, but it's not true. And I'll tell you why. But so the strategic network is for you to be sure to build a group of connections of people who want to help you to prepare for your future. So it could be strategically connecting with and getting to know some recruiters. It could be trying to set up informational interviews or, coffee chats with people who are in entry-level jobs where you want to be at the point of graduation. It could be the CEO of a company. It kind of can be anything there, but you really want to be intentional with that strategic network. And that's where our Pitt alumni come in huge, and we'll show you some resources to connect with Pitt alumni. But you really want to be strategic with who you build in this area, and make sure there are people that you have the time and attention to give appropriate appreciation to, and who you really, really want to listen to and follow up on what they offer you. So we'll give some examples of that once we open up LinkedIn in a little bit. But this should tell you that it's not just about who you know, it's also about who they know. So think about who you already know, okay? Really think about it, and think about your family. Think about everyone who was around the table at potentially a recent holiday dinner or meal. Think about the people you go visit when you return home. Think of, that sort of immediate circle of perhaps aunts and uncles and neighbors and relatives, of people who check in on you from time to time. So that's your core group. Now we want to get outside of that core group. And the best way to tap into that next layer of a network is through those people. So I like to tell students that, and I've been saying this for more than 10 years, so someone here has probably heard it already, but I really feel that as college students, the two groups of people who are most likely to be able to help you in a very strategic way, and who will do anything to support you in your career endeavors, given they have the knowledge or the connections to do so, are your parents' friends and your friends' parents. So these are people who know you well enough to be loyal to you, who know you well enough to vouch for you, and who are going to be in situations in the future where they want to actively take credit for the success in your future. And they're also people who but do you really know them well enough to know who's in their network? So it's one thing if your next door neighbor is a physician, and that's great, but did you know that his brother is an industrial engineer working with the company that you want to work for? Or did you know that his cousin is a recruiter who's coming to the career fair next week? So it's kind of like, who do you already know? But what really matters is that they know you and what you're looking for. So building a network is about talking to people and making sure that all of the people in your network know who you are, where you are, and what you're getting ready to pursue. So think about who's in that network for you. I like to share this slide. So between, I was going to say between Gabby, Alex, and I, the three of us are connected to all of these things, but no, this is just my slide. So these are no, not true. But these are almost all of these things are things that I'm connected to personally. So I was in student government when I was a Pitt student. I've lived in Tampa, New York City, France, and South Beach. I was a manager for Papyrus in Manhattan. I worked for the Pitt Alumni Association. I worked for Harley Davidson. I worked for Planet Hollywood. My husband works for Direct Energy. He's a member of the Parks and Forests Foundation. We have a great network through all the things that our child is involved in. So a lot of things here. So I'm just one person, and these are all organizations that I'm connected to either currently or from my past, and at a minimum connected to at least one person through social media, through these organizations. So I'm just one person. You know a lot of people, and they're all connected to a lot of people too. And the older they get, the more people they're connected to. So start to look at people and think of people for their circle around them, and not just who they, what it says on their business card. Do you even know what business cards are? I feel bad. We don't exchange those anymore, do we? So how do you do this? So you're talking to someone, let's imagine that you've found a way to set up a chance to talk to someone. Maybe it's, someone who recently graduated from a student organization you're in, and you found out they're doing something you want to learn more about. Find a time to connect, meet and talk online. Ask them for 15 to 20 minutes. Don't expect anyone to give you an hour of their time when they don't know you yet. And come prepared to that with some questions. So you can come and do this, just rattle off an elevator pitch. But what you really want to do is start a conversation and get them talking about themselves, because you're there to learn about them, and not guide the conversation with anything that's just about you. You want to make sure you're inviting them into that conversation and ready to ask them questions. So that's about showing interest. And if you really think about maybe 2 or 3 of the last really good conversations you had, whether it was with a family or a friend or even an academic advisor. But think about the balance of the questions and answers, and how how you were given a chance to think, and how you had a chance to write things down, and you had sort of action steps on how to follow up after that, or you were energized in some way. So think about the flow of those conversations, and that's what you want to replicate in a networking conversation, because you're trying to build a relationship in a positive way. So how do you introduce yourself? This varies from person to person, and it varies on the setting, but you want to be casual and comfortable and genuine. So that's going to look different for different people. So for fun, I hope this works. I can't see thumbs up on my screen, so it's only about 1.5 minutes. So if it doesn't work, I'm sorry, but I hope you get the volume here. But we're going to see a little clip of 4 elevator pitches from one of my favorite movies, Legally Blonde. So let me hit play and let this go.
This is the part where we go around in a circle and everyone says a little bit about themselves. Let's start with you. My name is David Kidney. I have a master's in Russian literature, a PhD in biochemistry, and for the last 18 months I've been deworming orphans in Somalia. Awesome. What about you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Enid Wexler, got a PhD from Berkeley in Women's Studies, emphasis on the history of combat. And last year, I single-handedly organized the March for Lesbians Against Drug Use.
Killer.
Good times.
Aaron Mitchell. I graduated first in class from Princeton with an IQ of 187. And it's been suggested that Stephen Hawking stole his brief history of time from my 4th grade paper.
Cool.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elle Wood, and this is Bridger Wood, and we're both Gemini vegetarians. I have a bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising from CULA, and I was a Zeta Lambda Nu sweetheart, president of my sorority Delta Nu, and last year I was homecoming queen. Oh, 2 weeks ago I saw Cameron Diaz at Fred Siegel, and I talked her out of buying this truly heinous Angora sweater. Whoever said orange is the new pink was seriously disturbed.
Okay. So I love that scene. And, so we are, definitely seeing some different personality types here. And these are elevator pitches. That's what it is. Take a second to introduce yourself to the group. So with David Kidney, like, he's sitting, his posture's bad. He's like wrapping his arms up around his legs. He's very closed off. He doesn't speak well. Even his like shirt and tie and jacket all make him feel like he's just really, really tight. And he talks about deworming orphans in Somalia, which just makes you want to not be near him. So there's nothing about him that is inviting or engaging. And then we have Enid Wexler here, who is, sort of punches David on the arm. He's talking about, a major master's in the history of combat. And she's kind of combative and a little bit aggressive, and someone who I might not want to share my opinions with, depending on, what the topic and what the purpose is of the group. I know it's someone who's going to be very opinionated, and I'd probably want to be careful in that situation just because of my personality type. Then we have Aaron Mitchell, who's laying back in a very sort of nonchalant, I shouldn't need to be here kind of way. He introduces himself very bragging about his IQ. He, name drops Stephen Hawking as having stolen his 4th grade paper. He's just completely arrogant, off the charts. And he's even dressed in a way that is like he's too good to be there. And then we have Elle Woods, who is, by all accounts, not introducing herself as a future attorney to a group of law school students. She's talking about where she shops and, they're both Gemini vegetarians, her and her dog. She's just, not on the same plane of reality as these other people. So I'd like to share this just because you want to be in your place. You want to know which version of yourself you should be presenting at any good time, at any time, and be true to yourself, but also be true to the situation. So, you don't want to be, you do want to brag about yourself. You do want to make someone remember you for a positive way. And you do that with both the words you choose to say and your body language, which is clear from this. But just think about what kind of an impression you're making. If you're overly excited, or if you are, not really interested, why bother have the conversation if you're not really interested? So I just think that's a fun example of what to share on examples of elevator pitches, but want to take you out of your element and think about, where do you think you're going to need to do an introduction soon? The career fair is certainly one of them. You only have 10 minutes to talk to an employer at a career fair. So you want to sort of quickly start talking and introduce yourself and tell them your year and why you're interested in the company. But it's very important to remember that the key to successfully ending your elevator pitch is by ending with a question of some kind and turning the conversation over to them. So, if you just say, hi, I'm Allison, I'm a junior, I'm studying French, and I'm really excited to be here. There's just kind of this weird pause. They're like, okay, is it my turn to talk now? No, instead, maybe what you want to say is, I'm Allison, I'm studying French. I'm really excited about the opportunity to potentially translate with students. I'd love to learn more about the internship I saw on Handshake. Can you tell me X about it? And then you start a conversation, and you're already remembered in a more positive way because you started a conversation. So think about it that way. You want to give them a chance to speak and give them a chance to share information. But to the extent that you're prepared enough that you can ask interesting questions, it's going to be considered valuable on both sides. You're going to get valuable information, and they're going to remember you for asking interesting questions, because not all students do. Probably 1,000 students could have come to this presentation tonight, but the 15 who did are getting that piece of information. So this applies to meeting someone for lunch. This applies to bumping in to the dean and literally in the elevator while you wait for the smart elevators in the cathedral. It also applies to attending a networking event, whether it's virtual or in person. You get put into breakout rooms and you have a chance to talk to someone for a brief while. Ask them questions. And if you have no idea what it is they do, ask about that. You know, you don't have to assume you know anything. Try to find something in common. And that's often the way to use follow-up after the fact. So when you're done talking to someone, it's very important to thank them for their time, but it's even more important to write down, like on paper, with a writing instrument, write down how you can contact them after. Ask them their preference. They may give you a phone number, they may give you an email, and they may say, hey, find me on LinkedIn, which is great, but did you write their name down? Okay, so I talk to students all the time on our floor who have just finished they stand out in a crowd, they're all dressed nicely in suits, and I say, did you just have an interview? Yes. And I always say, because I dork out at helping students, so I say, well, don't forget to email them and tell them thank you, the interview's not over until you do that. And the number of times a student will look at me and say, well, I don't know their name, I don't have their email. You just spent a half an hour talking to them and you didn't write down their name. Like, how is that possible? So be aware of where you are and knowing that in order to build a relationship, which is a matter of being remembered in a positive way to the extent that someone wants to help you down the road, whether it's for this job or in the future, you need to know their name, you need to be able to connect with them, and you should do that follow-up as close to immediately as possible. So the rule of thumb that I share with interviewing is very similar to meeting someone at a networking event to a presenter for a program is, if the interview's in the morning, they should have a thank you by the end of day. If it's in the afternoon, it should be in their inbox when they get in the morning, not sent in the middle of the night, but you get the picture. So within 24 hours, you should be showing your appreciation officially for any interview, for any time spent that a professional gave you of their time. And so just, a case in point, have you ever just sent a thank you note, a thank you email? Thanks so much for your time today to your academic advisor. Have you? And if you have, great, thank you. But if you haven't, try it and just see how quickly you get a response the next time you have a question, or see if maybe you're bumped up higher on the list for who gets appointments first or has better responses. So think about the people who are, a function of your college experience, but think about extending them even more gratitude, the kind that's painless and so easy for you to do, and see how that starts to change their ability to support you and benefit you. It just raises the spirits. And that's what relationship building is, wanting someone to be in your court and, adding them to yours in return. So jumping along, there's a lot we want to cover in a short amount of time, but I just want to hit a little bit on LinkedIn and social media in general. So LinkedIn is primarily used for professional networking. We all know that, but it's critical to keep a current profile. It's critical to have a really good headline under your name and not just student at the University of Pittsburgh, something a little bit more interesting. Add your major, add something about a role that you're in. Must have a nice clean headshot. We call it a professional photo because we want you to look kind of professional depending on your profession in that photo. You do not need to pay a professional to take it. So that's the difference there. A good outdoor, good hair day, let someone take your picture for you, and that should be sufficient. And also just know that the reason you need to be in LinkedIn, because all of the hiring managers and recruiters of Earth are in LinkedIn, looking up candidates once they've applied, if not searching for candidates and targeting them directly, which is how my husband got his last job. Someone found his profile in LinkedIn and pursued. So it's also a great place to ask for advice, and I'll show you a few quick tips on doing that in a second. But I don't want you to dismiss all the other places where you live and hover. Use that social media to your advantage. So this is that personal network that you already have. These are your immediate family and friends in a lot of cases. And it's also, a big group of your professional network of all of your Pitt people potentially. But because you're maintaining relationships in these platforms, it's just as easy to post hey, I'm looking for a summer internship in Philadelphia in anthropology, anyone have any ideas? It's just as easy to post that and get some PMs as it is to, post a picture from this weekend. So start thinking about how to use that in a savvy way to get information and potentially tap into those opportunities that either haven't been created or aren't posted, but someone realizes that, oh, that's what she's looking for. I'll call on her for help. Okay, so keep in mind that you can use all of these as long as you're maintaining clean profiles. I'm not going to go on that tangent for you. We do whole presentations on that, but I think you know the ground rules of social media. So before I open up LinkedIn Live, just to show you a couple of things, I want to bring up the importance of Pitt Commons and how valuable it is. So LinkedIn has, professionals from all around the world, has over 180,000 Pitt alumni in it, but they're all in there for different reasons. Some are in it for work, some are recruiters, some want to maintain their own networks there. It's a really easy place to maintain a network. But the difference with Pitt Commons is here you have alumni who may most likely also have LinkedIn profiles who have specifically stepped up and said, I want to be someone who supports, young alumni, who supports Pitt students in any way I can, whether it's through formal mentoring, through answering questions, through, getting maybe an introduction in my company. I'm here to help Pitt students. We have micro internships available. As you know, there's events like this available. So all sorts of really great resources. And I don't know the number, Olivia, of how many alumni are in it. You might be able to share that or post that to the chat, but a ton of alumni who want to help you. So it's a really great first place to look when you have a question about any career or field. But speaking of questions, I'm going to skip out and go to some slides, or not slides, but I'm going to go to the web for a second here. Speaking of questions, we really want to make sure that you're familiar with, sort of the complement to Pitt Commons coming from the Alumni Association. It's called Ask Pitt Alumni. It's a great way to get advice on a project that you're working on academically. It's a great way to get alumni to be a part of your team on something where you need external support or professional guidance. They can open doors, they can make introductions. This is tapping into hundreds of thousands of alumni who are willing and able to offer you advice and support and to help prevent you from making the mistakes they made, which is very possible. So look, we got 14,000 users out of 20 and 25,000 alumni. So you can be among those, knowing that you can strategically just click on get advice now and tell a little bit about yourself, and then you get to ask a question. And within, it's not instant, but in a short matter of time, you will get a response from an alum who steps up and wants to respond to that question. So Olivia, do you want to talk at all about how that works? Do you want to talk a little bit more?
Yeah, so we currently have 14,000 users on Pitt Commons, and there's 25 alumni on Ask Pitt Alumni. Ask Pitt Alumni is great because, like Allison said, you can ask anything from academic questions to career questions. We have students that have asked about like internships, and a few of them been offered internships or jobs just straight through Ask Pitt Alumni. So you never know who you're going to get matched with. And we utilize a system called Protopia, which is the parent company of Ask Pitt Alumni. And they match between 7 to 10 alums. So you'll get everything from like, they'll answer the question to they'll say, call me or email me, and utilizing the skills that Allison is talking about is going to help you when you get those responses of how you can reach out to alum. When does it the right time, but the alum really want to help, and it's great because it's guaranteed that they're going to respond. On LinkedIn, I've talked to students where they're like, I've reached out to all these people that went to Pitt, but they haven't responded. But through Pitt Commons and Ask Pitt Alumni, they are more willing to help because that's what they sign up for. They want to give back to students, they want to engage. So definitely utilize those two platforms because they're here for you and it's free. And Ask Pitt Alumni, I would say, some students have gotten responses within 24 hours. Some students have gotten within 3 to 4 business days. It honestly just depends on like what the question is and how relevant it is within our alumni group.
Right. So, and I think this is a really good sort of snapshot if you Look, someone's saying they had great results. So advice on graduate school, great personal connections. It's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. So, but with Ask Pitt Alumni, you see you have this like short summary, briefly introduce yourself. What do you need help with, and close nicely. That is the perfect guide for any outreach that you're making to someone who you want to bring into your professional or strategic network. So short and sweet, intentional, not telling your whole life story, but really getting to the point of what you want to learn from them, and what, you know, what brought you to find them, and what you want to learn from them, and, you know, appreciating them in advance for your time. Short and sweet. That is absolutely the guide for what you want to be typing if you're trying to connect to someone on LinkedIn, on Pitt Commons, or here in Ask Pitt Alumni. Short and sweet. So easy to find all of those on the alumni site, but I want to shout out to the Career Center team again, who's not here. So I'm just yelling to myself here, but there's a new tab on our website called Career Central, and our entire website will convert to this by summer, but you're getting a sneak peek into the new way that you're going to be able to engage with our office with, you know, featured blogs and events. You're going to see, you know, really great current information coming from sources all over the country. But what we love about it is that we can actually segment information that's designed specifically for affinity groups like what you see listed here, but also for career communities. So for an example, I'm going to pick policy law and public service. So you'll see here for students who are studying policy law or public service, we have the community experts, the career consultants who you should meet with, events that are very specifically designed for students going into those fields. Tips, you know, here's how to submit a law school application, intersecting identities, employment benefits and perks, so things that are kind of relevant to people studying policy and law. And then you have some really great resources that, again, are very unique and specific to studies and industries in these areas. But what I want to bring up today, you know, we have featured jobs and internships pulling from Handshake, again, very relevant. But what you'll see here are Pitt alumni from these fields who are pulled from our alumni in residence group, but also from Pitt Commons. So you can scroll through these, and it's going to take you to Pitt Commons, having already filtered all of Pitt Commons for this category of policy law and public service. So it's another cool way to, you know, sort of fall upon people potentially who are going to be able to, you know, add some value to you if you take the time to reach out and connect with them. So we're integrating that here, and Ask Pitt Alumni will be a featured resource. As our student workers add the featured resources, it's coming soon. So that's just the Career Central at pitt.edu. I wanted to share that, but I don't want to go, I do want to open everything up to questions, but I don't want to go without hitting a few highlights of LinkedIn and the importance of it. So in your profile, like I said, strong picture, full name, and make your headline statement something interesting, something that identifies you a little bit more personally and directly than just student at the University of Pittsburgh. That's the default. Fix it from being anything but that. And then you can add any content and information that you want. So I have a very brief couple of sentences about where I am now. I'm not aiming to go anywhere else, but you could talk about what it is that you're looking to apply to or become in the future in that little about section. I love now that it's called about instead of summary, because you're not ready to summarize. You're just getting started in your career. So it's a little bit about you. And then you want to hit the highlights of your experiences, and you can decide yourself whether or not you want to copy and paste every bullet point from your resume, or if you're a communications major and you want to use this opportunity to actually write eloquently about your experiences in a way that might serve as a writing sample. It's up to you, but you want to be consistent throughout your setting. And then you want to share your university information to the extent that you can. You want to add high school as well, because your high school has a network, you know, outside of your parents, friends, and your parents' parents and your parents' friends. Your high school teachers want to support you in your success. So if they have a contact that they could introduce you to on LinkedIn, they're more than happy to do that. So keep education listed, and make sure that when you do set education that you pick the University of Pittsburgh, so that you have this, girl looking up in the sky, so that you're connected to all the other alumni in the system. So what you see here is that we have 109, this number changes every day, Olivia. So we have 191,000 Pitt alumni with profiles in LinkedIn, which is extraordinary. But when you go to the University of Pittsburgh page and click on the alumni button, if you haven't seen this before, this is what we call the Alumni Tool. You'll see that we can see exactly where all of those alumni live. So we're starting with, lion's share in the United States, with a significant percentage in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York. No surprises there, right? And you also see where they work. So it's always going to be top heavy with Pitt because Pitt students largely work at Pitt, and it's showing up there. But you can also, even more excitingly, scroll to the right to see what they do and what they studied. So say you're, just to carry that example through, political science and government. So I pick that filter, and there's 2,300 in Pittsburgh in political science and government. Now I see how where they work has changed. Pitt still has a lot, and I'm not surprised. We're highly involved in those areas, but you'll see schools, municipalities, law firms, insurance agencies, banks. Not a big surprise of what we're going to see there. But the cool part is, so say, what am I going to pick randomly? So say we say Allegheny County, who works there? So of the people who work in political science and government who are Pitt alumni in Pittsburgh, these, as you scroll down, these are the ones that actually work in Allegheny County. I can see approximately when they graduated. I can see if we have shared connections, and I can hover over that to see who our shared connections are. I can ask to connect directly with them. I can click on their picture and open their profile and read more about them. And I tell students, this is a really great way. If you know what you want to do after graduation or have an idea, find people in LinkedIn and start with Pitt alumni, because why not? Find people who are doing the job you want and read their profiles and see where they interned, see where they work, see how many languages they studied, see how many, see if they share their grades, see if they talk about academic projects, see if they're giving random advice or connected or following certain groups that you can follow as well. So this is just a really great way to tap into alumni and learn more about them. I do agree with Olivia wholeheartedly that you're not going to hear back within hours from any alumni you write to in this system. You may hear back from some, you may not hear back at all. Not anyone I know, including me, and I use LinkedIn for work a lot, is sitting around managing their LinkedIn chat as a priority in their lives. They just aren't. So when they get to it, they get to it. And if too long has passed, they're generally embarrassed to follow up at that point. So, try once, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, try a second time. And after that, let it go. And then try someone else. But if you take that attempt in that conversation to ask Pitt alumni and Pitt Commons, you are getting a much higher rate of return. We can't speak to how quickly, like she said, it may not be within hours or within a day, but within a week or so, you're most likely to get a response to every one of those requests. And how you want to share your information is really up to you. You can share your student activities as, where do I want to? You can, so I'll show you Sarah. So Sarah Braza, some of you may know her. She's an SAA and Blue and Gold alum, who's now with Deloitte Consulting, but you can see her internships featured, but instead of having a separate organization for everything she was involved in at Pitt, now that she's graduated, she's taken it and summarized it in this area here, just right under her education. So you can kind of decide how you want to share your certifications, share academic projects, share summer jobs. It's really up to you. Just because you had a summer job doesn't mean it has to be the #1 item under your experiences. Think about what story you want to tell and choosing how you tell that story here. You can also exchange recommendations. You can share academic projects. Don't post your projects, but you could talk about them here. You don't want to be, accused of plagiarism by allowing someone else to copy your work. But just keep in mind that this is just a really great place to get awards, honors, things, everything sort of that maybe doesn't fit on that one-page resume forever, but feature it here so that when you do reach out to someone in LinkedIn, they can go to your profile and see everything they need to know about you and then feel confident that they have a reason to reply. If you don't have a thorough profile on LinkedIn, you shouldn't be reaching out to people. You shouldn't be adding it to your signature in your email or to your hand or to your header of your resume. It should only be when you have a comprehensive profile that tells sort of your full story. And when and where to start that story, come and see us in a drop-in appointment or schedule an appointment with the internship team or the career staff, and we can help you make that decision. In the same way, we can help you to make a decision on whether or not to expand beyond a one-page resume. Let us help you with that.